Welcome to another segment of Financially Speaking. I'm your host, Drexwell Seymour. Sorry about that, I had my phone on with the volume. It's a pleasure to be here today, and in fact, this is the first Tuesday in April, and we see how time has gone by so fast. We're now in the fourth month of 2024. We'll soon be around in 2025. But despite how things are going so fast, at least it appears it's going fast, don't get deterred by the fastness of something. Don't let it deter you from achieving your goals, even if you have not. I know you might have set some goals or resolutions in 2024, and you perhaps have not started that as yet. But don't let that deter you. It's never too late to start. So I encourage you to start now. Okay, even though you're now in the fourth month, you still have a lot of time to complete those goals that you wanted to be done in 2024. Now today, this is my first time interviewing this guest. This is the first time being on the show. Her name is Rochelle Brown. Of course, many of you might know Rochelle. She used to be at Scotiabank, I think for more than 20 years. And then she went to Invest TCI. I think she's one of the funding persons there with Invest TCI. And now she is the CEO of Global Capital. I'm quite sure many of you probably heard about Global Capital. That's like becoming a household name. And so, of course, it aroused my curiosity and also for you to give you an option as well. I know a lot of you complain about not having access to financing. And so we thought it fitting to have today as our guest, Ms. Rochelle Brown. Rochelle, if I've left anything out, please let me know. Tell us a little bit more about you if I have not covered everything in my little introduction, my brief introduction.
Well, Drex, first of all, thank you for having us here this morning. And we really appreciate the opportunity to share a bit more about the company and also how people can have greater access to financing to be able to do the things that they want, desire, and hope to do. And I hope that I can provide some more enlightening information about the services that we provide.
Sure. Well, before we get into the services, tell us about is Global Capital. That's the official name, Global Capital?
Global Capital.
All right. Tell us about Global Capital and how long you've been around here in Turks and Caicos.
Okay, so Global Capital really started as payday loans back in 2015, mid-year 2015. 2015. So it is coming up to its
10 years.
Almost.
Next year.
Almost anniversary. And so it started out basically having recognized the importance of everyone having access to financing, and whether it was through small dollar amount or mid-sized amount. And so the company has always recognized that there was a large pool of unbanked persons, so to speak, in the communities. And I think it's important to also air that we're just not talking about Providenciales. We're talking about Turks and Caicos on a whole. We serve the greater Turks and Caicos communities, South Caicos, North Caicos, Grand Turk, so forth and so on. And but there are folks that have not borrowed from the traditional banks before, and there are folks that borrowed from those banks but not able to go back to those institutions for lending for various reasons. And so the company Global Capital came on stream as a medium to be able to provide access to individuals and to businesses, as small businesses also, that were looking for financing that were at their various stages unable to get that access. So that's pretty much the ethos of the company, having recognized the need for this in the communities. And we have served many thousands of individuals and businesses with micro, medium size loans, and we hope to continue to do that. The company offers financing for various types of purposes. Travel, medical, education,
So it's more
starting
than,
up your
it's more than for
businesses.
businesses, it's individuals as well.
It's actually more on the individual side, but
Oh, okay.
we've certainly catered to small businesses.
Okay.
Right, so it's
Okay.
not a business loan company.
It's
Is
combination.
It's a combination of you make your application, we assess the application, and we find the best means and ways of how we can accommodate.
Got it. Got it. All right. And where's your business located?
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Oh.
How could you sell a service and not tell people where it's located? We're in the Courtyard Plaza, and for those of us that like to purchase jewelry and perfume, that's right across the street from Goldsmith.
It's a three-story building on the highway.
Yeah, three-story building on the Leeward Highway. So we're centrally located, and that's our office presence. But we have a huge access presence on via our website.
Okay, what's
at
your website?
www.globalcapitaltci.com.
Global Capital.
So that our website allows people to
Global
access
Capital
TCI.com.
TCI.com. Okay.
Allows people to make their applications online, swift, fast, and easy at the click of a button.
Okay. So, in speaking about on the top tip, right? I heard that unlike the other banks, that Global, the approval process is very fast compared to the traditional banks that we have here in Turks and Caicos. Is that so?
It's definitely so.
Yeah. And do you get collateral if I want to borrow something? Do you require collateral?
Every application differs,
Oh, depending on the nature.
right? One of the things that is of priority to us is the repayment, timely repayment.
Time and repayment.
And so what that involves is, but let's go back, Drex, to your question about we do these applications really fast. Once we receive the application, particularly those online that come into us, you click the button now, and we can literally access the application instantaneously. We assess the individual's budget. We look at their job stability, how long they've been there. Perhaps if it's a new job, then obviously you have to question if the individual is still on probation. And but sometimes people are on probation, but it's a stable employer,
Got it.
right? And they may have had stable employment from their previous employer, right? So you're not going to penalize them because they just
they're
started a new
employee.
job, right? So we look at these things really fast, and we do it fast because that is what we sell, right? That is what you pay for. And so we want to live up to that promise of being expeditious and efficient at what we do. And because when people apply for a loan, be it from us or be it from any
financial
institution, they want a fast response. Either they're going to get the loan, or they qualify for the loan, or they're not, because people have emergencies. They have things they want to do, and they want to do it expeditiously. So we have to be prepared at all times to be able to respond to those demands.
And I guess that's an advantage too. I mean, compared to other financial institutions on the island, because sometimes people have to wait for weeks and sometimes months before whether the application is approved or denied. And I think that's one advantage I could say.
It is.
Global.
It is.
Now, for employees that borrow the loan, I know sometimes, tell us how that works, because I know you require the employer to do direct payments to you. Tell us about that process.
Well, once we, actually even before we make the final decision, we want to ascertain that the employer is prepared to honor the assignment.
Oh, so you contact the employer
Right.
first.
Well, once we get the permission from the applicant, the applicant says, yes, I know my employer. Some come prepared, having already discussed it with their employer, that they would do an assignment of payment. In an assignment of payment, we call it payroll, PRD. It's
Okay.
payroll direct assignment to us.
Got it.
So the employer, during their payroll process, they would make the deduction and pay directly to Global Capital.
Right.
Whether it's
Whatever
by
the
check,
loan payment is,
whatever the loan payment is.
they write it directly to you.
We
and
do
then they pay the
weekly.
employee the rest of their salary.
We do weekly, we do bi-weekly, we do monthly. So if the employer opts to do that on behalf of their employee, then that's an easy process. It really makes the approval process much easier for the person to access their funds right away.
I got
The employer is saying to us that we also, I'm going to leave this, we also would accept the full salary, and we would make the deduction, and we would immediately fund the individual the balance of their
Oh, really?
of their thing also. And
Why would you do that?
because some employers don't want to bother with the deduction,
Oh, okay. They don't want to have this
They
two,
don't
two
want-
sets of checks.
perhaps.
Oh, okay.
Right? But because they want to help their employee,
They
right?
just assign the full salary.
they
then
assign
you
the
deal
full
with
salary. And obviously all of this is with the employee's approval.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an easy way also. I like that way actually, because it allows us to, really streamline the process and not feel that there's any extra pressure on the employer to be making the deductions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. And so I guess that's a benefit then for you, because you guarantee
Yes.
that the employer,
Just like the
the
banks.
employee will pay.
Just like the banks, your salary is guaranteed. Your salary is paid into the bank. So the banks have first dibs on your salary, aside from us now. And so the banks get first dibs on
Yeah.
your salary, your
Yeah.
pension, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's a benefit for them to be able to control, so to speak, the on-time
Yeah.
repayment.
And you want to make sure the loan is paid back.
You want to make sure the loan is paid back,
Yeah.
but you want to make sure the loan is paid back on time, right? So let's talk about that a little bit, because oftentimes people say, well, why do I have to put a lien? You have to put a lien on my car or a charge on my property when my salary or payment is assigned to you. But you have situations where you can have a lien, you can have a charge on a property, but if the person is still in full control of their pay, their salary, they can pay you whenever they want to pay you, right?
I got you.
So in a way, that's a benefit for us, and that's also a benefit in establishing, it's kind of like a forced good credit
Yeah.
for the individual as
and
well.
also relationship as well.
And relationship building as well, because you can have an emergency, you can call me up anytime, call us up anytime, and you know that you can get that assistance that you need.
So let me, okay, so if you have the assignment from the employer, do you still do the lien and the charge?
In certain cases, yes, we have to,
You do, okay.
depending on the amount, depending on various things. Perhaps you may look at the job stability also.
Okay.
Right.
So different factors.
Different factors are involved. Like I said, some of these things are very individually merit-based. So although we're guided by, the various policies that we have around this thing of lending.
Okay.
And but it's very important to emphasize paying
On time.
versus paying on time, right? And I think I had mentioned to someone in a previous show before that Turks and Caicos does not have a credit bureau,
Right.
so to speak. And so you can borrow, you can go to the bank, various banks, or you can go and finance a car, you can finance a house, you can do a lot of things without that lender, so to speak, knowing what your credit history is like.
So you don't contact the other banks to do reference?
No,
on-
we do have a process.
Oh, okay.
We do have a process
'Cause
there.
even though we don't have a credit bureau, I believe the banks contact the other
And the
banks.
banks do contact us as well.
Okay.
Right? But we have but we don't we try not to penalize individuals who may have, fallen short in their previous life, so to speak. Whereby, you've had a bad loan in the past and now you're back up on your feet, things are different. Those are important things to recognize in an individual situation. And but on-time payment is very important,
Yeah.
right? It just gives you a sense of empowerment, financial empowerment.
Yeah.
That, I may not have a big time salary, or I may not have a big time mortgage or whatever. But I'm an on time paying person, right? And so it's really important to emphasize that, yes, sometimes we do ask for hard collateral as well as assignment.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it also helps, it protects you too. Protects the
definitely.
shareholders, helps you with the cash flow, because if they don't pay, you need the cash towards, other things as well. Your operational expenses also help give loans to other people. So if people do not pay, then it also impacts your cash flow position.
Well, definitely. It's just like we're like any other business, right? You know, every operation, every business has its operational expenses. Every business, not some businesses, stores have credit accounts, and I'm sure when you go to do it center or different outlets that you may have had an account with, and you get to a certain point where you have to get extra material.
Yeah.
Right? Then obviously they're going to look at whether the previous bill was paid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Some
So
of those people now asking for prepayment. You put the money on the account.
you put the money on the account, and so that's important, because you have to continuously run the business, and there's expenses, and not because it's a money business, meaning that we don't have a wealth of expenses and overheads, and to continue running the business, and to be able to continuing to serve the community in this capacity.
Yeah, and people have to recognize that too. That's other people's money that you're lending, and they must pay it back. Now, I was speaking about that. I noticed, I think it was a year or two ago, I saw a list of names, like for collection purposes. I don't know if it was in court or whether you guys produced this list asking people to contact Global Capital. I assuming that they were bad debts.
That's a huge assumption, and but it's interesting that you brought that up, because that is a question that I've been approached about. Let me go back to 9/11. Let me use an example.
9/11 or
Yeah,
COVID?
let me go back to 9/11.
Okay.
Back in the days then, everyone had a credit card, and long and short story, Drex, 9/11 changed everything about what we do, right?
It did.
Pretty much. And so we had, and I think I can speak without, breaching any confidentiality or saying certain things. Back in the day, in Scotiabank days, we had a lot of folks with credit cards. And 9/11 required that every person with a credit card produced valid identification. So whether you were the governor, the head of the country, or any regular person with a credit card or a bank card, what have you, with the bank, and that card had expired, that identification, had expired because you applied for that card about 2, 3, 4 years ago. 9/11 happened today, and now you find that your file does not have valid identification. What the bank did, the bank had to go out and have the staff contact every single person with a card, and it was thousands, thousands of individuals, right? Thousands of individuals that they needed valid identifications for. And so, going back to your question about the list was put out really to alert persons to contact us. The same way Fortis, the same way every other institution. You remember the days when the food store next door to Scotiabank, you had a return check, Price Club, and they would stick your check on the counter. That Drex did not, this check bounced.
A copy of the check.
And not necessarily that check was that you did not have sufficient funds. Sometimes those checks was because the signature was irregular.
The dates is wrong.
Sometimes the dates were wrong.
I had a bounce check
Right.
2 weeks ago, and I say, really? I was still writing 2023
Well, that happens
on
to
my
me all the
check
time.
instead of 2024.
We're doing that all up into February. You're still writing 2023.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say that those names were persons that were not paying their bills, right?
All right. Well, that's what we assume in the public.
It happens.
And they give the person a really bad name.
It happens. But to avoid that, what do? We make sure. And we can also further avoid that. If you're not paying your loan, we encourage people to come and talk to us.
Yeah.
And I find that it's not an easy thing, I would say also, for some people.
I mean, when you reach a point where you find you can't meet your obligations?
It's not always an easy thing for some people to come and talk to you. Because persons that have come in, people do that eventually come in to say, listen, I'm having a little tough time right now. Could you hold me over for about a month or so, or what have you? I'm working on this, and I'm going to come in and pay you, what have you. That makes a whole lot of difference in the relationship, right? Instead of dodging and running away from something that's not going to go away, right? It's inevitable that you're going to face if you're just running away from paying the loan.
Yeah.
Right?
It's best to be upfront.
It is better. So we encourage people. We can't force people to come in and talk to us, but we can encourage you to come in and talk to us and say, listen, here's the situation. How can we work on this together? Right? And oftentimes you find that it's the best you have the best outcomes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They may need to reduce the payment, the amount.
It could be that.
Yeah.
It could be that. Sometimes they even need to borrow more money.
Oh.
To recalibrate themselves.
Okay.
To recalibrate themselves, because you could have gotten a loan last month and something happened this month that really changed your situation. And so that's why it's important for us. And so we like to have a good relationship with our customers as well.
Okay.
Right? So we have that, hey, what's going on? I noticed this, I noticed that. And come talk to us. Let's see. There was a time actually when we had some delinquent customers, and we called them up and said, hey, come talk to us. I think you need somebody's in your hand to help you along the way. And we find that those persons that actually made contact with us, we were able to restructure their loans, right? And restructuring the loan sometimes means that you can now get an assignment of payment that you did not have before. And at the end of the day, it resulted into, a positive resolution.
Okay, all right. And so who regulates your company? FSC?
It's regulated by the FSC.
Okay, all right. Now, speaking about amounts, right? And we talk about the people complaining about having access to capital. What is the minimum amount that Global can lend, and what is the maximum amount?
Our guidelines keep us in the $750 range, minimum.
The minimum, $750.
$750 minimum.
And you lend $750?
$750.
Oh, wow.
So if you're having issues with 40s, $750. I hope I see some applications on the queue for $750 to clear you off, quick, fast, and hurry. And we're a micro medium lender, and so that entails loans for bill payment, various credit card payments, insurance payments that may be $1,500 a year, whether it's home insurance, vehicle insurance, life insurance. Those are things that people should really be keeping up to date. And when you talk about your car and home insurance, those are mandatory.
Okay. What about vehicles?
Definitely.
Do you lend money for vehicle?
We do.
Okay. I know the banks recently they had a promotional where it was doing 100% financing. Do you do 100% financing?
We've always done 100% financing, right? Always.
Oh.
We've never had a requirement where you had to come up with a down payment on anything.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I guess we can say that that's a continuous promotion, right?
Okay.
And a benefit to persons that are trying to get financing. The thing about it with 100% financing is that it's good, and in some ways it's not good. When you get 100% financing or high loan to value financing, the individual does not have a stake in it if something goes wrong.
Okay.
They've not lost anything, perhaps other than their transportation. That's a loss. I understand that. But when you've put in a small deposit into something, whether it's a vehicle, whether it's a lot loan, a house loan, you have a vested interest. And so circumstances sometimes cause people to walk away from things. And oftentimes you don't want to walk away when you remember the memories of digging your own foundation and putting the house up to bell beam, like we used to call it many years ago. The reason behind that is because, and for myself as a former banker, the banks really wanted people to have a vested interest.
And take some sort of responsibility.
And take responsibility. And so that's why it's important to have that. But I think down payments is more of a traditional bank thing as opposed to
what you're doing.
What we do.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, you still didn't mention the maximum. I know you said the minimum is $750. What's the maximum?
That's a good question, and it's hard to put a dollar figure on a maximum because it all boils back to affordability and or timely repayment.
Okay.
So affordability has to do with a person who's salaried employed, or even a self-employed person who makes their business earns a certain amount of money. You, perhaps, or any one of us, an applicant who perhaps have a contract somewhere. If we can get that, they have a contract for $20,000. They don't earn $20,000 as a salary, and maybe their business doesn't have a $20,000 surplus to be able to pay us back and obviously maintain itself. But if you had a contract, or
like a rental income or whatever, or construction, whatever,
any sort of contract
that you're going to get this money from.
You're going to get this monies. Or even ASU. Your ASU is due, your hand is due in July. But you need this money today.
Oh boy.
Right? So we've had situations where ASU holders would sign, obviously with the approval of the individual, the applicant. We've had situations where the ASU holder would assign the contract monies in for July directly over. So the loan would be in that,
I got it.
Would be based on the premise of having it repaid at that time.
Right.
Also, you have persons who are in the real estate sector, right?
Who's getting paid back?
They're going to get their big commission check in July or next month, but they need, and in some cases they want this money now to do something with until they get their commission. And so we did a recent transaction where we provided. And the real estate company gave us an undertaking, having comfort that the sale of the property, the registration, and the final transaction would happen by a certain time.
Right.
They gave us an undertaking that, and then undertakings usually happen between banks and very credible financial institutions. And alike firms that can guarantee that you will get these funds by a certain time once the transaction is finalized. So those are ways that payment can be assured to us.
Right.
And at the end of the day, we're just facilitating.
Right. Because you
quick,
guarantee
fast
basically
access.
It's just a matter of time when this
Yes.
person's going to get the money.
Yes.
I see.
Yes.
All right. So we could get 50,000. We could get 100,000.
You can.
Okay.
You can.
Depending on the nature.
Depending on the nature of this application in the front of you, right? So Drex, you see, the thing about it is that we want to, and hopefully we can, play a part in changing the narrative in Turks and Caicos. There's long been talks of not having access to financing for things that all the time. And it's important to recognize that this outlet has been on the ground for quite some time, and we continue to provide access to financing, right? We encourage, and I'm appreciative that you have us on the show here to be able to also share further insight on the things that people can do to uplift themselves. And the old saying, take the shoe off of people's neck, so to speak.
Right.
With being marginalized, so to speak, in their country, with having the lack of access,
because there's a lot
or
of
timely. There's
yeah.
there's great opportunities in this country. And so one of the things, like recently we launched a SME, a small business program incentive, whereby we looked at the various areas of the economy that we find that people are getting into. Water sports, fast food, transportation, retail outlets. And these are the things, you have a lot of hotels coming on stream, right? So you're going to need more transportation. You're going to need more tourists are all out and about. They're going to want more local food, right? You're going to we definitely do need more retail outlets. And these are opportunities for individuals to get into. So we highly encourage folks to think about things that they want to get into.
So you launched this
We
initiative for SME.
We did. Around the same time that Invest TC was also doing their
Extension.
their road show on SME and their grants and so forth. So it's been about 2-3 weeks now that we've put a piece out there about. We've not done a whole lot of promoting on it as yet.
Okay.
But we want people to know that access to financing for existing and startup businesses are available. And one other important thing that that we really want people to know is that don't think that as an individual you cannot achieve, perhaps maybe an ambitious business plan. There are ways about going about these things. During my days of Invest TC, I met with many investors that came to build hotels, invest in various sorts of businesses in the country. And oftentimes I find that if you had a group of investors of 4 or 10 people around the table, oftentimes those folks never knew each other, right? But one had the idea, one perhaps had the collateral, one had different things. Each came with a different contribution, right? But at the end of the day, it was a solid business plan.
They came together.
Form
a company.
They collaborated, right? And at the end of the day, they packaged the deal because they can see, tried, proven, and tested situations that this is a good investment, and we're going to take a chance. We're going to come together, pool our resources together. And oftentimes I find that here in Turks and Caicos, we shy away from collaborating.
Yeah, with too much things individually.
Too much things individually. And that's our society, perhaps that's our culture.
Yeah, I think there's a lack of trust, eh?
Right. But trust is good. But at the end of the day, in business, if you have the paperwork, the solid paperwork that says, Drex is a 50% shareholder, and I'm a 50% shareholder. You don't have to like me, I don't have to like you. But we have to make sure that this business works. And there are mechanisms and there are ways to ensure that also happens. You have brands. Brands don't necessarily own these businesses. Brands operate these businesses. So some of these brands cannot afford to fail, right? They've already figured it out, like science. So these are the things that we can also try to replicate. Perhaps
we need to encourage it.
And I'm not just going to say on a smaller scale. So outside small and large, right? So if you find that there's sometimes families are the greatest cooks. I have great cooks in my family, right? And so we often say, man, we should have a restaurant or what have you. But if you're afraid to come together as a group and a team, but you have individuals, if you and I and auntie and uncle came together, right, to finance this operation, and obviously the paperwork is in order as to what I'm going to get at the end of the month, or what you're going to get every month, or perhaps when we're actually going to start taking perhaps a salary or some sort of profit from the business. It may not necessarily be next month or even next year. You have to make this thing work. So yes, there are a lot of nuances to starting a business and collaborating, but partnerships is very important.
I think it's critical, and I think that's,
Yes.
I mentioned the show, I think 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and I think we need to come together more. I know
Yes.
a lot of times we complain about the government. Of course, they have their role to play, but sometimes it's us. We wait for the government to do this, wait for the government to realize South Caicos or Grand Turk or North. We as individuals should come together and form companies
We chart our own path.
and do what we want to do. And then we don't have to necessarily run the business. We could be the shareholders in the business and then recruit or hire a manager or CEO to run it. So there'll be less friction among, and I think that's what we need to do. More of us need to come
I
together.
long for the day when I see locals owning hotels
Me too.
in this country.
Yeah.
I mean, I think right now it's a travesty that we have all these beautiful crystal clear waters and they're pretty much taken up by, and it's nothing wrong with the investors coming to this country
No.
to further build the country and also perhaps see through their dreams. But at the end of the day, we have equally an opportunity that I think we're oftentimes running away from
Yeah,
rather than embracing it.
I think a lot of us,
Yeah.
we are afraid to take the risk.
Yeah.
We're afraid.
Well, you got to make some bold moves.
Yeah,
This was a very bold move, and we do bold things at Global Capital, right? And we take on huge risk every day,
Yeah.
right?
That's what I learned
So-
in economics when I went to my first course in college. The professors say the greater the risk, the greater the
The
reward.
reward. Yeah.
And we're afraid of failure. We're afraid to take risks. We're afraid if we fail, what people are going to say about us. And we need to really, we talk a lot about, unification and uniting with one another, but it's just talk. We need to act. And I think if we could come together, come to Global and get that money from Global
There you go.
and start that business,
There you go.
we could close that gap.
Now, governments always have to be held accountable.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah, they do.
And it's not an easy job. I can imagine. I've worked in the investment agency and seen the struggle with a lot of things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, yes, people are looking for that pathway, and what they call it, paving the way for opportunities for its people.
Yeah.
Definitely, and it's important for, as we talk about, partnerships and getting into more businesses, that folks that are coming into the country are getting into, but we're complaining. So let's spend less time complaining
Yeah.
and more time partnering with each
Yeah.
other.
Be the change
Be the change
that we
want to
see
see.
the change to, and we could do it.
Of course,
A
we
lot of
can.
people that come here, they didn't have much. They saw the opportunity. They wrote their business plan. They took the risks.
And they got us
found
involved.
Different people.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
And that's what we need to do. Take the risk. Even
and
if you're
it's-
working full time, you can still do something on the side.
And the thing about it is, there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we spend a lot of time talking about us and them.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Burners and
But the thing about it is that investors come to our country from environments where this is what they do.
yeah.
They get involved. They get involved and they build
Yeah, they
collaborate.
They have a purpose. They have
Yeah.
an objective, and they pursue
and
it.
and so they're here. So to change the narrative, these are some of the things that we have to do.
Yeah, we need more local investors, and we can do it.
And we need the Chamber of Commerce to also
More
be more active in these discussions about how what more can
The association
done.
or because being
Yes.
a member of it's like an association. We can network and help each other. I think that's important.
definitely some government, so to speak, deterrents. People want things to happen more efficiently.
Yeah. It's a lot of bureaucracy and red tape.
Right, and very unnecessary, right? I don't think there's, some things have improved, most definitely. We've
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
many improvements in the
Yeah.
government system. And, but but we have to get to that point where people are just comfortable and confident that when they apply for certain licenses, they're going to get it in an expeditious time frame. Because we never know why the person wants it as quickly as they do.
Yeah.
Right? And money does not sit still. Maybe they want it because that money is being offered to them and they need it by a certain time. Right? So we have to be, as people in the system, we have to be cognizant of these things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We have to be cognizant.
We really need to work on that. There's been a lot of different, for example, as I mentioned on the show before, you're applying for, go ahead, you saying something?
Before I lose that thought, oftentimes we say we need to work on it. Do you know we can just do things?
Yeah. And what happens?
We can just do things. We can make it mandatory. We can make it mandatory that.
You mean the policymakers?
Yes, we can make it mandatory that when certain things are applied for, not everything. Some things take a process for sure, but we can make it mandatory that when certain things are applied for, you get it in an expeditious. And what some people have a different take on what is considered expeditious, right?
Yeah.
But just as, but at the end of the day, listen, someone is paying for a service, and they should get what they're paying for.
Yeah, but okay, I hear what you're saying. I want straight away. But the same, for example, when you're applying for villa, right? To operate a villa. Okay, you got to go to planning. Mind you, planning ready to approve your project. You still got to go to planning. Business license want to see that. You got to go to environment. Then you got to go to the tourism regulations. They got to come and inspect your place. Then you got to go make sure get the file. So it's a lot of different red tapes. So by the time you get to business license, which your application takes a long time. So we need to make it more efficient.
More efficient.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves the question.
Because it's different departments too.
Yeah, but what difference is it going to make if I don't produce certain things before I get my license?
Yeah.
We have to that's a fundamental question, right? Also, you find that a lot of renewals in the system, I have to produce my passport every single time. Thank God there's some renewals now that they give it to you for 4 years, 5 years, or whatever. But a lot of renewals, you have to produce certain things over and over and over and over. Well, you did not archive my passport.
Yeah.
That showed you that my passport does not expire until
find that
2030.
Right. I find that not just with government. I find it with some private sectors as well. Like I'm applying for another, I don't want to call Fortis off, but I say I go to Fortis and apply for another
meter.
Right. They're asking for the same. I said, we already have this on file. But now let's talk about the interest rate. I think one of the things that I hear about global is that interest rate is very high. Is that so?
Well, traditionally with micro-lending, interest rates are higher because the risk is all on the lender, right? So that's always going to be. What we've been doing in most recent times is definitely looking at situations where we can alter the rate, and we do that every day. Okay. We alter the rate to try to make.
You're not fixed saying, well, this is it, but you have some flexibility.
We have flexibility. Yes, we have flexibility. But it's important to recognize also that we stray away from asking for hard collateral a lot. Right?
Because at one point you were not even getting collateral, right?
At one point we were not, because we did not want to be a company that were repossessing people's cars, repossessing land, repossessing homes. That is something that this company does not want as part of its legacy.
Okay.
Right?
And so explain to the people who are listening when you say the reason the interest rate is higher because you're taking on the risk. Explain what do you mean by that?
So you could imagine you loan someone $10,000 and you don't have any collateral, right? And they walked away. You could imagine folks that have passed away that have had loans.
And you don't get that money back.
How do you get it?
I see.
You can imagine folks that leave their jobs just because they don't want to pay, right? So we've never aired really the challenges of running a company like this.
I hear what you're saying.
Right.
But if they don't pay, and you charge the high interest rate, you're still not going to get your money back.
You're still not going to get your money back, all of your money back, but you would have made something on the loan, depending on how long the loan may have been running for.
I see.
Right. But micro lending, Drex, has always been about quick borrowing.
Right. Less red tape.
The convenience. I mean, you don't sit in the first class for free, you know. The fare in economy is not the same. So it's important to recognize that. Right. But we do recognize that we needed to perhaps do a bit of shift and maneuvering with our rates. Number one, to make the lending more accessible to people, and especially more attractive for sure.
Right. Because even right now, my understanding is that the interest rate is high anyway, even with the traditional banks. Because overall, the interest rates have gone up. I don't have they gone down?
Let me give you. I'm not sure really. Haven't been applying for mortgages in a while. But the thing about it is that the beauty of global capital and what it does is that your rate may be high, but that high is also still relative to an individual application, etc. But you may have a rate that's considered high, but you're going to finish that loan in a matter of months, in a matter of a year, 24 months. You're paying a more.
The loans are not long term.
The loans are not long term.
Okay.
So either way you look at it, I'm going to be done with you guys at some point in time. But because of the service and the VIP treatment that we give everybody, because everybody's a VIP.
I've never gotten a loan from you.
Everybody's the most valued client, and but you. And mortgages are traditionally long term. I get that.
Yeah.
But you have that over your head. So even people who are even retiring at much younger ages these days,
they're still paying mortgage.
They're still paying a mortgage, right? And so that isn't something that we wanted. We didn't want the repossession thing as part of the company's legacy.
You want it
fast, quick. Let's help you do what you need to do, because we understand that you can't get it from the bank or they're taking too long, right? People apply to some of the banks for their Christmas loans, and they get a response back in February and March. Not that they're responding really to
Christmas loan,
to get the Christmas monies, but that's sometimes how long it takes to, or in some cases they never get the Christmas monies at all, right? Okay. So we're genuine about making access to financing available to the masses, right? Everyone from all walks of life, all throughout the TCI communities, right? And that is something that we actually have to do a much better job at, going into the local communities in Grand Turk, North Caicos, South Caicos, and some of the other islands.
Your company will be doing?
We want to do more of that, right? Because some people are not on Facebook, some people are not on Instagram.
True.
Right? But you find that people are there trying to fix their houses and get things ready before the hurricane, and people in the more quieter communities are helping their nieces and nephews go off to school. You have graduations coming up.
About that, do you give student loans?
Not in the traditional sense of student loans, like the TC Invest years ago loans. But if a parent or someone came in for a loan for the purpose of education, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Because you remember years ago, TC invested. You go in off to university. You would get your loan from InvestTC.
Right.
And you were responsible for that, or it may have been a grant type of thing, quasi-grant loan, back in the day.
All right.
And but that is something that we, as a company that highly promotes higher education.
Got it.
We really want to encourage people to use our services to, kids are getting out of school in short order.
Yeah.
And we have to get these kids in, get them greater education, and,
Yeah. So basically then, people watching the show, because I believe some people didn't apply because they heard about high interest rate. In fact, they call you and other people, what do they call you? Loan sharks?
They call us loan sharks.
Loan sharks.
We're the farthest thing from a loan shark.
So
most loan sharks, they come and take something away from you.
They're shark. They eat you up.
They take something away from you.
But you don't do that.
They're coming for the keys to something.
Yeah, but not at global.
Not at global. And we're proud of that, right? And so individuals that are coming to us today, we're looking at the applications. We're looking at, sometimes we shave the rate because when we look at the budgets, right? Because at the end of the day, we want to help people, right?
Yeah.
So we're not, it's not carved, we're guided, obviously, by our principles, but we're in our policies, but it's not carved in stone that we can see that a person making $1,500 and they want to borrow $1,500. Of course, we're going to try to make that work and make the payment affordable to them,
right,
to get the monies that they need. You have young people that want to take their little kids off to see the doctors. Some people want to get their kids into the first year of universities. Everybody's not going to get. We have hundreds, over 1,000 students that are going to be graduating in this country in the next few months.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to apply for scholarship.
And everybody shouldn't get a scholarship either.
And many of those that's going to apply will not get it.
There's a limited budget that the government has anyway.
Yeah.
And
So we have to do what we have to do.
Right.
We have to do what we have to do because our kids are our future and the future of this country.
Right.
So we have to get them. We have to put the wind beneath their sails.
Yeah. Be an avenue to help.
Be an avenue to pave the way, and part of that paving the way for the future is seeing an educated nation. Yeah.
So you've been in business since 2015. You've seen a lot of applications. Don't you think that we have a financial problem in this country? Not talking people's business, but don't you think that we're not being financially wise in some of the decisions that we make? And I'm assuming that's what's happening, because I see a lot of people say they're struggling. Some of it is their real struggles. I know some people are living off a paycheck to paycheck, but I believe some people also are making decisions that's not good financially. What advice would you give to people overall? Of course, there are different individuals, different circumstances, but I believe overall, that some of us are living beyond our means. We are spending things on what we want and what we need, instead of what we need, and as a result, we are facing financial issues. What advice would you give? I think we probably have to end up soon, but what advice would you give?
Boy, I mean, in this day and age of social media, there's so many things coming at people, but there are also positive things that are coming our way also.
Yes, for
right?
sure.
And one of the things that something I came across recently was that life isn't always there to just, talk about regrets and so forth and so on. It's a journey, but it's a journey of experiencing experiences. And some people...
And you learn from those experiences.
Some people learn from those experiences. Some people want to have recognize that part of the life experience is recognizing the hurt, the pain, the joys, the laughter, the so forth and so on. So some people just want to live, right, as part of that journey. And so for them, that living is having a good time, right? No matter how much it costs. No matter the cost. And that's for them. Hopefully, those that are listening can be encouraged that it's important to plan.
Absolutely.
And determine. Planning is very important. Critical. And also, as parents, also you have to help plan for your kids, right? And that is something that we strive away from. Black people, island people don't traditionally do wills, right? So you get to see a whole lot of sides when something happens, and everybody now wants to have a say.
Yeah.
So it's important to plan even in that respect.
Before you go, speaking of will, I was encouraging someone to do will. And you know, the response was, oh, if I do will, I can soon die.
Oh, dear.
That's the mentality some people have. If they do a will, that means they soon die. No! Especially you have multiple children by different women, you better do that will.
Okay.
You know, go ahead, continue.
Okay, you got to get a piece in there, Drex.
Go ahead.
But planning is very important. But look at your budget. Look at what you earn, and I think it's also good to know where you want to be in 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 10 years. People are retiring. I think the age for retirement from government is now in 55?
No, 60.
60 now.
Yeah, national insurance, to get your full benefit from national insurance is 65. The government is 60.
Okay, so I think that's a good starting point.
Used to be 55.
Okay, so that's a good starting point. I mean, we're just in our prime at 60, man. But that's a good starting point also, right? Because you don't want to see, I hate when I see our elders kind of just lounging around, not being able to move around and do things for themselves, and also still struggling, you know? When they've had that opportunity to sit down. And sometimes we also have to sit down with our parents as youngsters and say, Mommy, Daddy, what's the plan, right? And but we as parents have to do it with our kids. We as employers should also do it with our employees, right? How can we help each other get to the next level? But going back to your question, planning is important. Look at what you make. For business people also, we need to make sure that you're funneling everything you make through your business account, right? Through your business account. So even if you take it back out, because once you come to us as a self-employed person, we want to see how you've been handling, because how you manage your affairs is pretty much maybe how you're going to manage repaying your loan back with us. And so that's important. So you want to impress any lender that you go to that, listen, I handle my affairs pretty well, and I just want you to know that you can count on me, even though you're going to hold my dog and cat and car and house and et cetera, et cetera.
But not global.
But it's important to plan, so that people can also, it's almost like planning a trip to anywhere. You pack your suitcase, you purchase your ticket, you pack your suitcase, you get on the flight, and you go to where you need to go.
It's just
and
like building a house, you need plans to build your house, right?
You need plans. So if you want to see yourself in a better position a few years down the road, plan, put a little bit aside. You'll be amazed as to putting $100 or $200 aside every month, how far that will get you before retirement.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. You know, it looks small. I mean, even though I think I made a challenge 2 years ago to show $2 a day. You know, start, and then as you get more, maybe do $2 a day or $3 a day, and it adds up.
It takes discipline. You don't touch that. It really takes discipline when you're in a society or you're cultivated in this way of just spending. Some people buy lunch every single day of their lives.
Yeah. So you don't do that?
So if you no. Most days I go without lunch, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
I get it late in the evening. But you could imagine if you were to sit down and look at what you spent on lunch over the past 5 years.
And sometimes you waste the lunch.
Right?
That's why I like those restaurants like Homies. Hey, Homies, good promotion.
Yes,
good promotion. They sell small and they sell large.
It's affordable too.
Because I don't eat large. My stomach is very small.
I've never been.
So I go buy Homies and I buy my $6, $7 lunch. You know, because if I go buy $14 lunch, I waste it.
It's on the budget.
Now, someone just tap in. I know we already discussed this, but they want to. In closing, can you tell us, the viewers again, how long the approval process takes, and what is the average interest rate? Someone just wanted to ask that question, so you could do that in your closing remarks.
Okay. Well, the process is very seamless. We like to use the word seamless because it is. You can go online at www.globalcapitaltci.com. We created a very user-friendly website because people from around the islands, we're just not a one island nation. We have multiple islands where people are from everywhere trying to log in or trying to apply for loans.
Oh, so you serve people outside Turks and Caicos?
Turks and Caicos, just the neighboring islands.
Oh,
just in
okay.
Turks and Caicos. Just in Turks and
Oh,
Caicos.
okay.
And so you make an application online, or you can visit us at our offices in Courtyard Plaza, fill out your application, and applications to civil servants are pretty much guaranteed because we have an assignment arrangement there, and so that makes the process so much easier. So once you make your application, we review that application the same day or immediately once you put in that application. So you are going to get a response within 24 hours, 24,
Awesome.
48 hours.
All right.
If it goes into 48 hours, it's because we're trying to figure out something here, right?
Okay.
Or the person may not have to provide, all the details that we need to come to a conclusion. Rates vary. Rates can go as low as 3-4%.
Seriously?
And of course.
Okay.
Just borrow a little bit more.
Okay.
So the higher you borrow, the more you borrow.
So from 3% to
3% up to 10,
okay.
15. It all depends.
Right.
You borrow $1,500, and the rate is 15%, so to speak, right? Just throwing that out there. You're paying $150 back, right? But you're going to get that money in your account today. I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I think that's the competitive advantage you have, and then everything is approved here locally. You don't have to go to Barbados or Bahamas to get approval. You know.
And nobody from Barbados or Bahamas is going to call you for that late payment.
Yeah.
About that house and the car keys and all them things, right?
True.
So we really want to be there for people. We really want to encourage changing the narrative in this country, right? And so we as part of our business also, our social corporate responsibility is important to us also. We've been the premier sponsor for the TCI FA Master League for a number of years.
That's the Football Association?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
with TCI FA. And we've also, we make various contributions to the education. I think this year we did, we sponsored all of the winners actually for the education, during the education week. They had a, they had,
A spelling
I
bee?
think a debate.
Oh, debate.
A debate thing up at beaches. So we oftentimes would make contributions
Well,
to
that's
the
good
winners
that
there.
companies are involved in I
Yeah.
think we should get involved in communities.
Yes.
That's very good.
And we helped the Lipstick and Things sponsor, because they have a lot of things to do to put these events together, eh?
Okay.
And that was also an event that helps SMEs. We helped I think the young chap a few years ago who may be running in the South Caicos. I'm not sure, but I think his name was put out there.
Arian?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, he's been over the years doing the food drive for the senior citizens in South Caicos, and also we made contributions to the youngsters at the Madre Basin High School for their special day luncheon. So those are things that we do. We don't always put it out there,
Yeah.
but it's very personal, and it really impacts individual lives.
That's very good to hear.
Right?
That's very good to hear.
So-
So you're not just taking money and you are also giving money.
Have always done.
Yeah.
Always.
You're not
always.
just charging interest,
No,
you're giving money.
no.
Yeah.
I think the very first contribution was also some years ago at the Raymond Gardner High School,
Okay.
contribution for their graduation. We also made a few years ago a donation to the Edward Garland
Yeah,
Youth
Youth
Center,
Center. Okay.
for $5,000 toward their the music room.
Okay.
So we have to see how that's going, because that was a contribution for the youngsters to develop their musical careers. And so we want to do things like that. We made a commitment to aid in the upcoming car show that Mr. Michaels does have every year, where young guys come
Okay.
together and
Okay, so you're
display
really
their
getting
artistic abilities around transportation or fancy cars or what have you. But it's also a means to get the young folks together and also feed back into them positive positive vibes. Yeah, especially things that have been happening in recent times. So we do these things on a low, and but we're proud to say that we're a big contributor to
the community.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Rochelle, this was a very informative show. Thank you very much. And those of you watching, you could go back and later watch the show. It's on RTC Facebook page. It's also an RTC station that will air at 7 p.m. again. And the good thing about the Facebook show, you can go anytime to listen to the show. So for those of you who are struggling getting money from other institutions, Global seems to be a solution. I know there's a lot of concerns about the rate, but she's said the rates varies. It's not in stone. It's flexible. And one very important thing about them is that they don't do a lot of red tape. You hear from them within 24 hours. They don't do too much collateral. And so that's something you want to, if you are out there, you have something an idea that you want and you believe that is your calling, and you don't have any money, then you have an opportunity to pursue it. And I encourage you, don't be like a Destil. Don't sit back and say, oh, I'm waiting on this moment, I'm waiting. Sometimes you have to borrow money. I don't believe in borrowing money and all, right? But if it's for investment purposes, is it to pursue your goal, then let's go ahead and do it. If you feel you're going to get paid back through the revenue from your business, then do it. Just make sure you pay back and pay back on time. So thank you again, Rochelle. Thank you for listening to Financially Speaking. We'll be back next Tuesday, same time, same place, 11 a.m. Thank you. Have a wonderful week. This is April, the 4th month. Don't be fooled by anybody. All right? Take care.
Thank you, Drex.
Thank you.